Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. How's everybody doing? I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing pretty good myself. Today is our first episode of Travel Tuesday. Yesterday I did Music Monday, today I'm doing Travel Tuesday, and then tomorrow will be Wildcard Wednesday, where I'm just gonna randomly pick something to talk about. So this is our first episode of Travel Tuesday. Thursday is going to be, I'm going to do a new slideshow for the channel with a bunch of pictures and things, and I'm not sure exactly what the subject is going to be yet, but I'll figure that out later in the week. And then on Friday, I'm going to do my first episode of Firehouse Friday, which is going to be a little bit about firefighters. And this episode is going to be about a little bit about the history of firefighting, just a little bit of the history of firefighting, and the hazards, occupational hazards of being a firefighter. That'll be on Friday. So for today, Travel Tuesday, we're going to travel to a town community near Anchorage called Girdwood. Girdwood is a ski resort area. There's a ski resort there called the Alaska Ski Resort, and beautiful place. There's lots to do there. I didn't learn a lot about this for tour guiding or anything like that, because I never really led a tour down in and around Girdwood. I visited Girdwood a lot. I've been to Girdwood a lot, but I've never really done a tour on it, so I did a little bit of research and found out some cool things about Girdwood. And I can tell you about some of the local things to do there in Girdwood, because I have actually spent a lot of time down in the Girdwood area. Very beautiful there, and like I said, it's really close to Anchorage, so when I lived in Anchorage, I did quite a few trips down the Seward Highway to Girdwood. And Girdwood is right on the Seward Highway from Anchorage, going towards the Kenai Peninsula, down that way, going towards Seward. Going to Portage, going towards Whittier, just going from Anchorage in that direction. It's just a short drive from Anchorage out to Girdwood, so I did spend a lot of time in Girdwood. Some interesting things about, let me show you first the mileposts. I had marked it with pencil or pen, so you can see where Girdwood is in association with Anchorage, where I circled it there. I'll put a picture of this too after the video. I'll put this picture of this map. This is, of course, my handy dandy milepost, which, like I said, if you're ever going to take a trip to Alaska, get a milepost. They're well worth the money. This is a 2019 edition. This is the latest one that I have, but they put out a new edition every year, and they update everything, so it's very cool. But yeah, that's where Girdwood is in association to Anchorage. You can see Anchorage is up here, and Girdwood is right there at the corner of the water, right where the water bends. And that waterway there is what's known as the Turnigan Arm. So you'll hear me reference the Turnigan Arm again, and basically it's just that waterway that goes down in there, the Turnigan Arm. I think there was explorers that went down in that area, and they had to turn around, so they called it the Turnigan Arm, because they actually ended up down there more than once, I think. But so that's where it's at, and Girdwood is right at the point of the Turnigan Arm there, and all the way down through there. There's just so many things to do, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of those things as we go along. So I went ahead and I made a few notes of things that you guys might be interested in as far as Girdwood, and because, like I said, I've never done a tour down in this area, so I didn't have my whole memory of interesting things about Girdwood. So I just went ahead and researched a little bit about it, and found out some interesting things which I already knew, but just weren't in my memory file. If you know what I mean. When you're a tour guide, you learn so much about so many places, and it's just hard to just obtain all of it. for future use. You have to stay right on top of it. If you're doing a tour every day for 7 months, you're working every day doing a tour for 7 months, you kind of remember all of it. But when I've never done a tour with Girdwood, so I had to research it a little bit myself, which is cool. So Girdwood was originally called Glacier City. It was founded as a supply camp for gold miners with claims along the Turnigan Arm, which is the waterway there where I showed you. It was later changed to Girdwood for Colonel James Girdwood, and he was a Scots-Irish entrepreneur and linen merchant, and he was the first person who staked the first 4 gold claims along Crow Creek in 1896, and Crow Creek is another little area that's right on the Turnigan Arm down there. And you can actually go there and still gold pan and stuff. They have a little creek river that you can gold pan in, or you can do one of those built ones, you know, the wooden ones that they poured the dirt into, and you just stand beside of it and look for the gold. So you can do it either way. I prefer to do it right in the creek or the river. To me, it's a lot more authentic and fun. But either way, it's fun to do. It is in a temperate rainforest, and it does rain a lot, which is wonderful because that's what keeps it being a rainforest. And it is just absolutely gorgeous there. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Even in the wintertime, especially in the wintertime, it's just, oh, it's so beautiful because they get so much snowfall there because, you know, during the wintertime, all the rain they get in the summertime is snow. So it's just beautiful. It's surrounded by the Chugach Mountains, which are the mountains that I could actually see from my apartment when I lived in Anchorage. A beautiful mountain range. And it's about 35 miles south of Anchorage, down the Seward Highway. There's only one way there. If you ever go to Alaska and you want to make a day trip from Anchorage to Girdwood, there's really only one way that you can get there from Anchorage. So it's not worried about a lot of different roads to turn off on. Once you get on the Seward Highway, you just follow the Seward Highway to Girdwood. The Seward Highway is actually was voted as one of the top 5, I think, scenic highways in America, and it is absolutely gorgeous. You just wind and twist along the Turnigan Arm there, and on the other side of the road, on the right hand side, if you're going from Anchorage to Seward or down in that area, on the right hand side is the Turnigan Arm. You can see the mountains, you can see just, oh, it's just beautiful. On the left hand side, there's a mountain cliff there, and if you look as you're driving along there, you can actually sometimes see the Dall sheep. And Alaska is one of the only places, well, Alaska is the only place they have the Dall sheep, and they're totally white sheep. They're very, very pretty, but they can climb along on the rocks up there, and oftentimes you'll see them climbing around up there. If you pull off at some of the pull-offs to look at the water, you can look up on the other side of the road and possibly see those Dall sheep. And also, all the way down through there, there's a lot of different pull-offs to stop and see. There's, as you're going along, there's Bird Creek. There's a bicycle trail there. You can get on the trail, and it goes for miles down through there. And there's a river or creek that runs through there too, that during the summertime, during the salmon run, there's these fishermen lined up and down both sides of the bank fishing, which is really interesting to get to watch. Let's see, I'll tell you a little bit more about that here in just a little bit. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about Girdwood and the history of Girdwood. So Girdwood's development started with the gold rush, but it was further developed when the railroad construction began in 1915 by the federal government. It's on the Alaska Railroad route that runs from Fairbanks to Seward or Whittier. And there is actually a train station there that you can get off of close to Girdwood. Also, if you're on the train going from Anchorage to Seward or to Whittier, you can, there's some stops along the way. You can get off and hike to a glacier, some other different things. You just get off the train, you do what you want to do, and then they'll pick you up on the way back. So it's pretty cool. On March 27th, Good Friday, in 1964, Girdwood was forever changed when a magnitude 9.2 earthquake struck. And the quake caused the coastal edges of the Turnigan Arm to drop by 8 to 10 feet. In some areas it's even more. In some areas it dropped as much as 15 feet. And what that means is that when the earthquake happened, it just shook so much that the land literally dropped. And the town was flooded, the community was flooded, because it just dropped down and all the water from the Turnigan Arm came rushing in. They had like a tsunami that came rushing in and flooded the area since it had already dropped. And it was salt water, so after salt water has consumed an area like that, very, very little vegetation ever grows back there. The salt water just destroys the soil, and nothing hardly grows in the salty soil. So they moved the town nearly 3 miles. Where the town used to be is still underwater. And if you ride the train from Anchorage to Seward or Whittier, and you go through that area where Girdwood is, you actually will, the train tracks actually go through a really swampy area of where there's still water there. The train is raised up, the tracks are raised up, and you actually go right through where it had flooded, and you get to see the trees and things like that. It now sits at the foot of Mount Alaska, and it's home to the Alaska Ski Resort. Tourism is, of course, the area's biggest economy, with the ski resort and everything like that. The ski resort is open all year long. Very beautiful place. They have restaurants there. It's just a beautiful, beautiful hotel. So tourism is the area's biggest economy, and consists of not only the winter tourism because of the ski resort, but also many year-round activities. Girdwood is a very special and unique community with so much beauty and wildlife and really nice people. The people in Girdwood are super, super nice people. I never met anyone in Girdwood that wasn't just super nice to talk to, and there's a lot of people who have lived there their whole lives, you know, and there's even some people that went through the earthquake, and they'll tell you stories and things like that if you talk to them. Each year they have the Blueberry Festival, which is really cool. It's very popular in that area. It's everything blueberry. It's a big blueberry festival. They have music and everything, and then they also have the Fiddlehead Fern Festival. And Fiddlehead Fern is pretty predominant in most forests around, but in Alaska, in that area, it's used for everything. They eat the fiddleheads, which is the new growth. When it's first coming out, you'll see the little curly fiddleheads on there, and they're actually pretty good. They cut them off, they batter them, and they deep fry them, and they make all kinds of stuff out of them, and it's actually very tasty. And so they have the Fiddlehead Fern Festival. Again, they have music and all kinds of activities going on during that time, and it's just a huge, huge festival. Lots and lots of people go there for that. It's one of the first festivals of the spring or summer season, so it's very popular. And besides that, there is some other festivals that they have, and there's some awesome hiking trails. They're just beautiful. It goes through the rainforest. Some of them go up the side of the mountain, some of them go to waterfalls. There's one that you can take, and there's a hand, they call that a hand tram. They had closed it down for a while. I'm not sure if it's opened again or not. I should have researched that to find out for you, but if it's still open, it was very cool. You get on the trail, and you use the hand tram. You get on it, and you pull yourself across this gorge, across to the other side of the trail. which is a pretty cool thing to do. So there's that trail. Some trails, like I said, go up the mountains, some go to waterfalls, some go down to the river, and one of the trails actually has some wooden boardwalks. It's one of my favorite trails in Alaska. It's beautiful. It goes through the forest, through the rainforest, and then it goes out into like a swampy area, tundra, and there's usually lots of moose out there. You can view them from the boardwalk. You can safely view them from the boardwalk. You do have to watch out for the moose out there because there are a lot of them out there, and you just have to be careful with them. One good thing is they are kind of acclimated to people a little bit, so they're a little not quite as dangerous as some of the other moose in Alaska, but moose are fairly dangerous, and they're really dangerous if they have a baby, especially, or if it's mating season or something like that, rutting season. Just always be aware of the moose. And if a moose ever chases you, I think I've told this before on one of my other videos, and I'm actually going to do a wildlife video one of these days about the wildlife in Alaska and safety and things like that around them, precautionary measures. But if you ever get chased by a moose, they don't have a pivotal hinge in their shoulder, so you can actually just run around in a circle, kind of tight circle, and they can't really chase you because they can't turn sharply. So if you ran around a tree, just kept running around a tree, you would be safe for a while. So yeah, there's wildlife viewing. The moose are very abundant in there. I've seen several moose there. And there's a shuttle bus too. If you wanted to take the shuttle bus, it's a free shuttle bus. It goes from Anchorage to Girdwood. It's a non-profit organization that runs the bus. And if you do ride the bus, it'd be nice if you tip your driver. Because like I said, the bus is free. So, but the bus service runs pretty much every day of the year from Anchorage to Girdwood. And like I said, the drivers really appreciate tips and things. There's not a taxi service in Girdwood, but you could get a taxi from Anchorage to Girdwood, because there is a taxi service in Anchorage, so you would have to get a taxi in Anchorage, or you would have to call Anchorage and have a taxi come out, and it's pretty expensive for them to come out and get you. So the shuttle would actually be the best route for you to go if you didn't want to drive your own car. Like I said, if you ride the transit, be sure and tip your drivers. There's also in town, there's a post office, there's a library, and a couple of places to eat, some really cool places to eat there, and a souvenir shop, and a coffee shop that's really neat. This is kind of a little laid back, chairs on the porch kind of coffee shop. It's a really cool little place. There's a ton of activities any time of the year in that area. In the winter, of course, there's the skiing, there's snowboarding, backcountry skiing, and snow machining, snowmobiling. There's Nordic skiing, there's dog mushing, and a lot more other things to do too. There's just all kinds of winter activities there. In the summer, you can go hiking, you can go fishing, you can go mountain biking. They have both downhill and cross-country biking. There's rafting, there's whitewater rafting, and there's sea kayaking and paddle boarding. There's kite surfing, and it's one of the few places in the world that you can actually surf on the boar tide. Boar tide is where two tides kind of come together and they make this big ripple in the water, and that's one of the few areas that you can actually go boar tide surfing in. A lot of people do the wind surfing and stuff there, but sail surfing, kite surfing, whatever it's called. So there's a lot to do there. If you do go and do something like that, though, always be aware of the mud flats. The mud flats are like quicksand. In fact, they're probably worse than quicksand. Fishermen have gotten out there, and we're standing on the mud flats, and next thing you know, you're sinking and you're in all the way up to the top of your boots, and then the mud gets down in your boots and it causes a suction and you can't get your boots out of the mud, you can't get your feet out of the boots, and you're just stuck there. And they've actually had to go out and rescue quite a few people from getting stuck out in the mud flats. So always be careful. They usually will have it posted if the mud flats are bad in that area. Just be aware of that. If you go walking anywhere in Alaska near the water, just be aware of mud flats, because they can be dangerous. People have actually died because the tides come in so quickly and they come up so high. Like, there can be a tide change in Alaska as much as 20 feet, you know, and it can come on very quickly. So you have to really be aware of those mud flats, because if you got out there and you got your boots stuck in the mud flats and you couldn't get somebody to come out there and help you pretty quickly, the tide would come in and you would drown. So you have to be really careful of those mud flats. There's plenty of photography. There's so many beautiful things to take pictures of. Wow, photography opportunities there is just amazing. Very popular in the Girdwood area. There's actually some photography tours that you can hop on. There's vans that will take you around and take you to the most popular, most beautiful places to take pictures. There's also free Wi-Fi in the library. So if you're in that area and you needed to use Wi-Fi, or you'd have to upload a video or anything like that, they do have free Wi-Fi in the library. There's a gas station there at the turnoff to go to Girdwood, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that you, anytime you're going anywhere in Alaska, like I always tell you, always get gas. Anywhere you see a gas station, get gas, because they're very, very few and far between, and so you don't want to run out of gas. You just want to make sure your tank is always full. So that gas station there is very cool. There's RV parking. There's big vehicle, plenty of room for big vehicles is what I'm trying to say. So if you went there and you rented an RV or whatever, there's plenty of room for you to get into the gas station parking lot there. There's also like a liquor store inside of there, and you can get ice and everything you need. There's a couple of restaurants. There's a Subway there, and I think some kind of a restaurant. I think it was a Mexican restaurant or something. There's a place to get pizza. Really cool little plaza. It's like a little gas station plaza thing. I always stop there and get gas and go and get some snacks and things to take out on the road with me. Get some drinks, fill up my cooler with ice if I have my cooler with me. And then you're pretty safe on gas for anywhere that you're going from there. As long as you fill up there, you have enough gas to get pretty much to the next gas station in any direction that you go. Let's see. There's a bakery there too, right next to the Subway, and oh my gosh, they have some amazing desserts and things like that. So just kind of stop by there and stock up on that too. But if you're going to Seward or Whittier or down the Kenai and Soldotna and Homer Spit, wherever you're going, if you gas up in Girdwood, you're going to have enough gas to make it to any of those destinations. Once you get there, of course, be sure again to fill up before you leave from there. Let's see. There's several tour groups, like I said, down there that take you different places that operate in the Girdwood area. There's Swift Adventures, which is a guided paddleboarding. They do guided paddleboarding trips. They take you out on paddle boards, and you have a tour guide with you, and they make sure you get to where you need to go and all that kind of stuff. And there's the Chugach Adventures, which has different tours that you can take. There's Glacier City snowmobile tours. There's the Crow Creek Gold Mine. You can go there, and like I said, you can go there and pan for gold and stuff. There's the Alpine Air, which is a flight scene, glacier landing, excursion. And during the summer there's dog sledding. They have dog sledding there at the Alpine Air place. There's a Nordic Spa at the hotel where you can relax in a modern alpine sanctuary. It's very beautiful. It's called the Alaska Nordic Spa, and it is in the Alaska Hotel. There's an aerial tram that operates year-round from the Alaska Resort. Anybody can ride it. You don't have to be a guest there or anything. It does cost a little bit to ride that. It's not much though. It's not very expensive. And it goes up to the top of the mountain, to where the ski resort actually is. And there's a restaurant up there at the top of the mountain. Actually, there's 2 restaurants. There's like a fast food thing where you can grab some stuff and take it with you. And then there's an actual restaurant up there. And amazing views from up there. Any time of the year you're up there, it's just beautiful from up there. There's also a little health clinic in Girdwood. You know, if you need to stop by emergency clinic or anything like that, there is one in Girdwood. There's also a public, at the little plaza thing, there's a public laundry and showers where you can pay to take a shower or whatever. But fun fact about that is it's actually been voted America's #1 laundromat. Then I have taken showers there when I was there camping and stuff like that, and the showers were very, very nice, very clean. So yeah, so it was voted the #1 laundromat in America. So that's pretty cool. And some other places near Girdwood are, and I'm going to do these more in depth in another video because I want to do a couple of these in their own video and just tell about some of the things that are close to Girdwood. There's the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, which is really cool. They get in animals, they get in orphaned animals, injured animals, they rehab them, and they get the animals that cannot be released back into the wild, and it's like a drive-through zoo. It's not like the kind you drive through and the animals come up to your car or anything. You just drive around, you park, you get out, and you walk over and see whatever animals you want to see. They have some really cool bears there. One of my favorite things to see there is Joe Boxer. He's a big bear. He's a big bear, but he's a character. And so I love to go to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, and it's nonprofit. Like I said, they do rehab the animals. They keep them there, and you can walk around and see all the animals, or you can drive. You can either park your car at the visitor center, there's a gift shop area, and you can walk the whole zoo, or you can drive through. They just recently, when I was there in 2019, I think it was, when I was there at the Conservation Center, they had added a really neat gazebo that you could like sit in and see the water and watch for water life, water wildlife. Lots of eagles would come in that area, bald eagles, golden eagles. Just a beautiful area, very quiet, beautiful views from there. And then from there is Portage Glacier, which is a little bit past Girdwood. You turn left and that takes you down into Portage Glacier and out into Whittier. The Byron Glacier, there's actually a trail that you can walk to get to the Byron Glacier. It's an easy hike, real easy hike out to the glacier. And there's the Whisper Creek Trail, which that's the one that has the hand tram. So it's called the Winter Creek. I said Whisper, I meant Winter Creek Trail, and that's where the hand tram is. There's also the Chugach State Park, which is really nice, and there's lots of great trails, like I said, in that area. They're marked. Most of them are marked really well. And there's camping, there's campgrounds in that area, some nice campgrounds. And on the trip from Anchorage to Girdwood, there's a lot of things to see also. And the road is maintained all year, most of the time, you know, unless they've had an avalanche or a rock slide or something like that and they have to close the road. It's almost always open because it is, like I said, it's the only road that goes through to Seward and the Kenai Peninsula and Whittier. And so they have to pretty much keep that road open and maintained. You may see the Alaska Railroad beside the road as you're driving along the Seward Highway. You can get some really good pictures of the Alaska Railroad as it's going by. There's actually a little like train museum type place when you get just out of Anchorage on the right hand side. There's a place where you can stop and see one of the train cars there. Just be careful. Always be aware if you can cross the tracks. There's places that you can actually park and you can cross the tracks and go to get closer to the water or whatever. But if you are in one of those areas where you're crossing the tracks, be very, very careful. People get killed there all the time, get hurt there from just not using common sense and, you know, basically walking out in front of a train. And so you want to make sure that if you're in one of those areas, just watch out for the trains. The Turnigan Arm Inlet, like I said, it runs along the whole side of the road there, and then on the other side you can look up and hopefully see those Dall sheep. There's lots of different pull-offs, like I said, where you can stop and see things. Just out of Anchorage is a little place called Marsh. It's going to be on the left-hand side if you're coming from Anchorage. And it's a bird and wildlife viewing area. It's this big boardwalk. It's like a half mile or something. Winds and twists out into the marsh. And during, like when the birds have migrated there, there's just all sorts of birds. Just beautiful trumpeter swans. And that's where they go and have their babies. They're just, oh wow. You see so many trumpeter swans there. They're just beautiful. And trumpeter swans, all sorts of water birds. And just regular birds too, land birds. All kinds of ducks. Very neat place. Say there's a restroom in the parking lot too. It's handicap accessible. Part of the boardwalk, part of the trail, I think, is handicap accessible too. I know that there's a little trail around the boardwalk that's handicap accessible, but I think you could actually take a wheelchair or whatever out on the boardwalk too. It's pretty nice there. There are moose out in there too. The moose like to come out into the marshy area, and so just keep an eye out for moose. Again, always be aware of moose because they can be aggressive, especially if they have babies, or it's rutting season. Like I said, there's a nice restroom there, and there's Beluga Point also on the right hand side as you get down a little bit further. You'll see a sign for it before you get to it, but it's called Beluga Point, and you can actually pull off there. And several times I've seen beluga whales out there. They're so cute. The beluga whales are amazing. If you've never seen a beluga whale, definitely make that one of your stops. Just pull along the highway there and look for those beluga whales. You might want to, if you go to Alaska, you might want to invest in a really good pair of binoculars, because you know, you will see stuff out in the tundra or out in the water, and you'll be like, what is that? If you have your binoculars, you can possibly see it a little better. So I really highly recommend getting a really nice pair of binoculars. Or if you have a nice zoom lens on your camera, I guess you could use that too, but you want to be able to see way out in the tundra or out in the water. And up on the mountains too, way up on the hills and the mountains and things, you'll see Dall sheep. You can see Dall sheep, and sometimes you can actually see mountain goats too. There's mountain goats in Alaska, so sometimes you'll see a herd of mountain goats up there climbing around on the rocks. So be sure you have your binoculars or a very good zoom lens on your camera. There's a place there too. There's several places, like I said, where you can pull off and walk down to the railroad tracks and get some really good pictures of the train as it's going by. And just be careful on those tracks. The Beluga Point is a big, large parking area, so it's pretty easy to get in there. But be careful, again, be careful pulling in and out of the pull-offs, because the Seward Highway is just so beautiful. And people just looking at the scenery, they're not really paying attention to much of anything else except the scenery. And then there's those people also who are, you know, traveling to and from work or whatever, maybe live in Seward, work in Anchorage, or the opposite way around, or people, you know, going places that they have to be. And so some people go pretty fast on the Seward Highway. So you want to be really careful, because you get that mixture of people going too slow and people going too fast, and people not paying attention to what they're doing. And just be really careful when you pull in and out of some of those pull-offs on the side of the road. A lot of those places you can overnight sleep there. Some of the places, if it's not marked as no overnight camping or no overnight sleeping or parking or whatever, you can pull off and sleep there. I've slept in so many of those different places, and yeah, you can definitely park there. Sometimes they have gates up, and if they have a gate up, of course you can't go into that part of it, but there's other sections of, like, some of the pull-offs where you can actually camp overnight. Like I said, there's bathrooms at a lot of the pull-offs. And let's see, what else did I want to tell you about? That's a good place too, at Beluga Point, to look across the road up on the rocks, the mountain there, and you might actually get to see those doll sheep up there. Bird Point is another great viewing area. There's where the walking trails and the biking trails are, and they go for miles and miles. There's some on both sides of the road, actually. Oh, also, there's a cool, if you like beef jerky, you know, different little candies or jellies or jams or anything like that are Alaskan made. Like if you wanted to get some salmonberry jelly or some Devil's Club lotion or rub or whatever. Lots of natural made things that are made right there in Alaska. And also it's a meat processing place where a lot of the hunters will take their animals there that they've gotten for the season, and they will process them. But they also process meat for restaurants and things like that too. So you can stop by there and you can purchase all kinds of cool stuff, and they will ship it for you. So if you went in and you bought some stuff and you wanted it shipped somewhere, they do ship some places. I'm not sure where all they do ship, but I know they ship some places. I used to order reindeer sausage. I absolutely love reindeer sausages. Just, it's amazing. I love reindeer sausage. So I would order reindeer sausage, and they would, I lived so close to there that they would actually deliver it to my house. So I would order reindeer sausage and have it delivered. And I love the jellies and the jams and the candies, Alaskan made candies, and the beef jerkies, elk jerky, caribou, all kinds of, they have all kinds of jerkies there. They're actually made right there in the area. It's called the Indian River. I think it's called the Indian Valley. It's the Indian Valley Meats Incorporated. And you can stop there, like I said, and get some stuff, get some snacks for the road, get you some beef jerky and stuff. And they used to, I don't know if they still do or not, but there used to be reindeer walking around in the parking lot, just free roaming. They were pets, and they would come right up to you. And just beware of them too, because if you own like a strong cologne or something like that, they'll just go crazy. They'll be like, oh, that's, you know, they'll like try to climb on you and stuff, and they'll push you around with their antlers, and so you have to be careful with them. But they won't hurt you. They're just pet reindeers walking around the parking lot. So that's a neat place to go. So be sure you stop there. And Crow Creek gold mine is right there. And, there's a trail there also to the Virgin Creek Falls, and it's an amazing, beautiful waterfall. And it's just a 10 or 15 minute hike too. It's a very short hike. I think it takes about 15 minutes to walk to the waterfall. It's a fairly easy hike. And like I said, I'll cover some of these things more in depth in some of my future videos. I'll cover more of Portage Glacier and Whittier and Animal Wildlife Conservation Center, or Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, and some of the other places. I'll cover those a little bit more later in other videos. And so yeah, I would definitely recommend a trip to Girdwood. If you're flying into Anchorage, just fly into the airport there. You can rent your car, drive down to Girdwood, and there's a lot to see down in that area. And it gives you a big taste of the beauty of Alaska, just right there within those 30-minute, 45-minute drive. Well, it actually turns into more than a 30 or 45-minute drive, but if you drove straight through and didn't stop at all the wonderful places, it wouldn't take too long to get there. But I would give yourself at least 2 to 3 hours to get there from Anchorage. And that's just from my experience. I love to stop and look for the doll sheep and look for the whales, and I just love it. It's just beautiful. I like to just pull into one of the parking spots and just look out at the Turnigan Arm. And like I said, in some areas they actually do the surfing. They'll be out there surfing in Alaska. They do surf in Alaska. Alaska, like I think I've probably told this before on my other videos, but Alaska has more coastline than all the rest of the United States put together. So they have a lot of coastline, and they do every water sport imaginable. They, do jet skiing. They do everything. There's this amazing amount of things to do there. There's lots of lakes and rivers and streams and waterfalls, and just it's just beautiful. And I highly encourage people, if you can possibly do it. Just fly there, rent you a car, rent you an RV, whatever you want to do, and just go see some things. Or even just hop on a shuttle and go places. Because there's shuttles that go all over the place. There's a shuttle that goes from Anchorage to Whittier. There's one that goes from Anchorage to there's one that goes all the way from Anchorage to Denali, and then you catch one in Denali and go to Fairbanks. I mean, there's lots of different ways you can sort of travel around in Alaska. And like I said in some of my other videos, if you have any questions or need help with anything, I can kind of tell you who to get in touch with, things like that, and help you plan out an itinerary if you'd like. I'm not a travel agent or anything like that. I just enjoy sharing Alaska with people, and I would love for everybody in the world to get to visit Alaska at least once in their lifetime, especially before the glaciers are gone. And yeah, so if you ever have any questions or need any kind of help with anything to do with Alaska, let me know, and I will try to help you out the best that I can. I guess that's pretty much it. Just wanted to go over all those places I have personally been before, and I can tell you it's beautiful. Be sure you have plenty of memory cards for your camera or your phone, whatever you're taking pictures with. Make sure you have plenty of batteries. Make sure you have plenty of cameras. The first time that I went, I didn't have a real nice camera or anything like that, so I just went and bought a bunch of the little throwaway cameras, that you just take pictures, take to the store, and get them developed. I bought a bunch of those, and that's what I used for my very first trip to Alaska, and I got some amazing, beautiful pictures just from doing that. And then they'll put them on disc for you, and then you can put them on your computer. So yeah, just make sure that you have some way or another to take lots and lots of pictures. And yeah, like I said, you can just, if you wanted to just fly into Anchorage, just fly into Anchorage, and there's all kinds of day trips from Anchorage. You could get you a hotel room right there in Anchorage if you wanted to. And then just get your milepost. Be sure you have your milepost and mark on there where you want to go, things you want to do, things you want to see, and then just go from there. You could go make a day trip into Whittier one day, and either come back to your hotel or sleep on one of the campgrounds or something in your car. If you're able to sleep in your car. I love to sleep in my car. But, you know, it's not comfortable or convenient for some people, and that's cool too. But there's also some little hotels and things like that in Whittier and Seward and all those places. If you wanted to take a day trip and stay at a hotel there somewhere, you could do that. There's also some little bed and breakfasts and things like that in and around Girdwood. A lot of those places, you have to make reservations for them a bit in advance, but like I said, if you wanted to, you could just stay in Anchorage, get a hotel room in Anchorage, and then just do your day trips every day out of Anchorage. That would be a way to do it too. There's pretty much, you could stay in Anchorage. You could take a day and go to Girdwood, Whittier, Portage Glacier, the Alaska Conservation Center. You could do all that in one day, and then you could come back to your hotel in Anchorage, and the next day you could head out and you could go down to Seward, or you could go down to the Kenai Peninsula, go to Homer Spit, down in that area, Kenai, Soldotna, or you could, and then come back. You could easily do that in a day trip too, and then you could come back to your Anchorage hotel, and the next day you could get up and you could go to Denali and see Denali. If you wanted to go all the way to Fairbanks though, I would go ahead and check out of your hotel room in Anchorage and just drive to Fairbanks and then stay in a hotel in Fairbanks somewhere. That way you could stay in Fairbanks overnight and then head back from there. I would give that trip from Anchorage to Fairbanks, Denali, and all around that area. I would give that at least a 3 days trip. By the time you stopped and seen everything along the way, and once you get to Fairbanks, and then maybe if you wanted to go out to, like I said, Prudhoe Bay or anywhere like that, out the Dawson Highway or something, or go to the North Pole and see Santa Claus, or go out, anywhere out that way. Could stay in a hotel in Fairbanks and do that area, and then go from there, see what happens. But it's very doable to just do day trips out of Anchorage and see some beautiful areas of Alaska. But like I said, if you need some help or whatever, just have some questions, be sure and hit me up, leave me a comment, and I will get back to you. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope these videos like this are informative and kind of tell you what each area of Alaska is like. Like I said, I did Valdez, and I'll probably do another Valdez one later on, because there's so much more that I didn't cover the trip to Valdez and stuff. And I might do the Wrangell St. Elias National Park, and I'm going to do some more of just areas in Alaska. It kind of gives you an idea of places that you'd like to go, places you'd like to see, things you'd like to do. Doing it this way, just kind of breaking it up and doing little areas. And then there's some things, like I said, that I'll cover more in depth. So I guess that's it for going down that way to Girdwood. It's, like I said, it's beautiful any time of the year, and the road's pretty well maintained when possible. And you're not going to get lost, so you're not going to spend half of your day driving around trying to figure out where you are, how to get back out on the main road or anything like that, because there's just basically only one way in and one way out of there. I mean, there are some side roads, but if you stay on the main road, you stay on Seward Highway, you're going to go right straight to Girdwood. And and come back out to the main road, you're going to go right straight to wherever you want to go to. But like I said, get those mileposts. I highly recommend those. I mean, even with a GPS or anything like that, you're not going to get the in-depth information that you get in a milepost. And don't forget, always make sure your gas is always filled up. Always watch the road for wildlife. If you hit a moose, you're totaled. Your car's totaled, you're totaled. And the moose is totaled. Not always. Sometimes they get up and run away, but just always beware. Always watch out for that wildlife, because it can actually be absolutely anywhere. I've seen as many moose in downtown Anchorage. I've seen as many moose in communities. I've seen as many moose anywhere as I have out in the national park. So moose are everywhere. So just be aware of that. Just always be looking for that wildlife and those beautiful views. Tell ya, Alaska's really, really amazing. And I hope that a lot of you who have, kind of, I don't know if I should go or not, I don't know if we'll be able to see much, or, whatever, and you will. If you just go to Anchorage and you just spend a week in Anchorage, or 4 or 5 days in Anchorage, and each day you take a road trip in one direction or the other, you're going to see a lot. You really are. And I highly recommend it. I guess that's pretty much it for this video. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. Hope I don't bore you to death or anything. And I hope you'll really consider doing your next vacation in Alaska. And like I said, if you need any help with anything, any questions, anything like that, just hit me up and I will be glad to get back to you. So I guess that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and God bless all of you, and I hope you get out there and find some beautiful views out there, and I will see you on the next video. Thank you guys. Talk to you later.